Hi.
We made Andy small on purpose because he's taller than us.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Waste World podcast. We're here at WasteExpo to tell you what's going on and what happened over these past few days in Vegas. Joining me today is Gage and
Hello.
a very special guest, Andy.
Hi. So I am a annual attendee of the WasteExpo, and I'm excited to be here again yet this year. Appreciate the opportunity to join you guys here on the podcast.
There's always a fun game to be played at WasteExpo where it's not Where's Waldo,
Yeah.
it's Where's Andy. And there's a few ways you can call him out. Camo pants, QR codes, and he might just grab you.
That is so. What's interesting is the opening night party. It was OAR was the guest or the musician, and most people dressed to the nines or dress up because they're going out to the strip afterwards. I'm rocking the camo pants, the T-shirt, the QR code on my back, and all I did was make laps. And I had 3 or 4 people like, all right, I've seen you for the 4th time now. Who are you and what do you do? And so again, I'm this walking billboard. I am my brand, right? The military, the tattoos. I haul junk for a living, no frills,
Right.
And it allows people to engage. I also find it interesting. A lot of people that are new to WasteExpo pull me aside. They're like, all right, looks like you've been here before and know what you're doing. So whether that's true or not is insignificant. It's the look that matters,
I think you walk with so much purpose. People are like, that guy knows where he's going. I want to be a part of that.
And the truth is, the whole time I'm here, I'm really waiting for things to come to me. Like even yesterday, I walked the floor for almost 4 hours. I came back today, walked in another 4 hours, and I saw all new things. Literally, instead of, I walked in and went to the left today, I walked in and went to the right. Instead of going, north-south, I went east-west today. And I see a new perspective. And then the whole purpose is taking in something. I never come here with any intention, and then therefore I'm able to really see what's going on in the industry and find new things I hadn't thought about researching yet.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that at the welcome reception, too, about how we met each other.
Yep.
Right on the floor, like you said. You were walking around, you were doing your rounds, meeting people, and we just walked into each other, and here we are today.
Here we are. That was a couple of years ago. That was the last day, Thursday. And I'm like, all right, I've been here a couple of days. Why go back? And I had, a couple hours before a flight. And I'm like, well, there might be something I haven't seen yet. And now here we are a couple of years later.
And we keep putting a microphone in your hand for some reason. I'm not sure. We keep giving you a platform. I don't know why. But here we are. So let's talk a little bit about WasteExpo.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with conference session. Let's talk about what we learned.
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know what? There's a lot of talk about how waste is a resource. I think that was the overwhelming, overall overarching theme that we talked about. Everybody from Tequila Smith, we've heard, so many different speakers just mention it. And what does that mean, Andy? What does that mean to you?
Well, I really love the speaker lineup this year because a lot of times I've seen it where it's very specific. Medical waste, food waste. This year was a lot of how do we view waste as a resource? And it was interesting. I've been doing a keynote the last few months on how to remove the word waste from the waste industry. So we focused the material on what does it look like as a resource? How do we use this, right? Whether it's recycling, reusing, refurbishing, or incineration, right? How do we use this as a resource? And to see the big players in town, the GFLs, the WMs, the Republics, coming to the table saying, yeah, we got to figure this out together. Seeing more incineration projects. I know there's a big incineration project coming up. They're looking at it down in Miami-Dade County. That's big for a place like that to say, okay, we're committed to this, utilizing waste as a resource. I really appreciated that this year WasteExpo also included more recycling and reusing than years past.
Yeah, that was definitely on the panels I was on. Cleaner Streets was one, International Forecasts. It didn't matter what I was at. It was waste as a resource was coming up. We need to find a way to repurpose this. And that just kind of became a reoccurring theme for wherever I was.
Yeah, and that it was also reflected in, where I was in a battery charged and dangerous session where we talked about battery fires and safety, also in a wasted food policy and how policy regulation is impacting what's going on with haulers and how waste is viewed as a resource and how we can get things moved from one place to another without it ending up in the landfill.
I had a great conversation. This is the other thing I love about WasteExpo. Today at lunch, I saw a gentleman sitting by himself. I had my chicken tenders. I want to have a conversation, so I sit next to this guy. He's a general counsel for waste management. He's a vice president, right? Normally, I don't have access to a person like that. And him and I got talking. I used to work for WM, and so we talked about it from the perspective I have as a small hauler, the perspective he has it from a legal standpoint of running landfills when people like me come in, and also what consumers are doing when they're putting things in their blue bin or their green bin at the end of the driveway. And batteries was his number one concern because the lithium battery turning into fires, lead-based batteries and other batteries that turn into leachate. And him and I really had a great conversation. How do we, small haulers like me that put on electronics collections event throughout the year, and WM come together? Because they don't have the infrastructure and they don't want to do that, right? They want to run MSW and SSRY. How do we, the local haulers, partner with the big companies to provide the resource for consumers? Electronics, for example, less than 30% of electronics in the United States get recycled. How do we as an industry build that infrastructure so the consumer has a resource? Because they want it out of their house, and they're going to hit the easy button, put it in a black bag, put it in the tote. Hopefully they don't get fined. Unfortunately, when that ends up in a truck, when that blade hits it, now we have a potential issue on our hands.
As a junk removal person, as you are, I don't know the right term.
Nomenclature.
Yeah, there you go. So batteries pose this huge risk. How do we bridge that gap? Is it just more conversations? Is it just more awareness on the batteries as an issue? I mean, clearly we all know it's a huge issue.
Correct. I am very anti-legislation, education, because people either will or won't.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is developing a solution. 9 years ago, I set out as an entrepreneur and I said, I'm going to be an environmental consultant. In 9 years, I've yet to get paid $1 single for my perspective or opinion. I've made all my money solving problems. So what it comes down to is providing those resources. So when you do go to a self-help center, they have a very clear and obvious place. This is where electronics go. This is where batteries go. And not all batteries are the same. Alkaline, lithium, lead-based batteries. We don't want to mix those things. So how do we provide the resources for our communities? How do we work with the large corporations, the municipalities, the state, and then also our local haulers to provide that resource? Because lithium-ion batteries, lead-based batteries, that's a resource. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they take that core back when you go to your AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts or wherever you end up going. It's a resource. When we shape the language, we'll ultimately shape the way that we run this industry. And so that's what it comes down to. Actual solutions for the consumers of the United States. And electronics being the top issue. 2% of the landfill is made up of electronics. 70% of the toxins in the landfill come from those electronics. Years ago it was tires.
Sure.
Now we got rid of the tires, right? Now it's white waste, your appliances and your electronics. That is steel, that is aluminum, that is precious metals that are being thrown away, never to be seen again, and creating a toxic environment within our landfills.
I was going to say, I like the solution of just having a solution.
Have a solution. No more education, advocacy.
It's always that one quote. It's like, remember, think of the dumbest person you know, and half the people in the world are dumber than that guy. So it's like education's not always going to work for these people because they will or they won't. You can teach them all day long, but they're still like, I still don't know, or I still just don't care. They're not going to do it. But having a solution, I guess that is the solution.
Yep.
Yeah, and to your point, in the charged and dangerous session that I attended, somebody asked, well, I have a transfer station. I don't want these batteries in my transfer station. They're too dangerous. What do I do with them? And, it's like, and then basically it's like, do you just send them back to where they came from? You can't do that.
So my challenge, this is what I tell our employees all the time. I talk to my daughter about this. What is the inverse of that? So someone says something as simple as, I don't want these batteries in my transfer station. Well, what's the inverse? The inverse of that is there's no place for batteries to go. You're a transfer station. You have a responsibility to the community to provide a place for people to take their unwanted items. And so you don't want them because it's inconvenience to you. I take them, we store them. So we sort, we store, we ship. That's our 3-step methodology at Camel Crew Responsible Junk Removal. We are DNR certified. We follow the rules. So lithium batteries, we bag them. Lead-based batteries, we palletize them and put wood in between, right? So the positive negatives don't touch. We don't create other issues. It's simple practices that you follow, and then we provide that resource for their community. Because again, the inverse is, if you're a transfer station in a rural area, what are people supposed to do? Those batteries are coming to your transfer station whether you want it or not. It's better to be proactive and provide that resource than be reactive and wait till it ends up causing a fire.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, is also brought up that everybody's talking about right now are vapes. They are everywhere. Everybody just chucks them right away as soon as they're done. I mean, they're absolutely insane. One I saw actually it looked like an iPod. You could play music from it. Like, why would you even need that when you have a phone already? It's just creating extra waste that...
I'm too old, I guess. Yeah. I've never bought a vape or even looked in the vape industry in my life.
Me either. I'll just, for
No.
disclaimer, me either.
No, I don't
Everyone else
vape.
is talking about it. I didn't do it.
No, I don't vape either. But like, I'll be like, what is? I just saw it. I was like, what is that? I'm like, it plays music. And
Well, you
it's
know
just
how-
absolutely.
You know how the trend goes. It's like, oh, things start small, then they get as big as they can, and then we get annoyed with it, and they get a bit small again. So that's where we're going with vapes.
Yeah,
Apparently.
you know, when I
Yeah.
think about it, the challenge we have with electronics, it's obviously e-waste. It's also EVs, right, in vehicles.
Yeah.
Never even thought about vapes, and you're right. This disposable product that easily, right, these aren't very well manufactured. It's plastic and juice and some mechanism to heat that up and warm that. It's
Yeah, especially
and
the
the-
disposable ones because they're just like done, and the
That's it.
only
They're
thing you
just-
can do is throw it away.
they're disposable. We can get into our disposable society. We'll need more than 20 minutes for that.
Sure, that'll be part two. Andy.
Yeah.
The
Well-
deuce, as we know it.
Yeah, and then the other thing about that is that it's also creating a problem with hazardous waste. You have nicotine, and then you have THC, and then you get different agencies involved. You have to have DEA involved with with vapes at that point, and there's no proper way to dispose of them because of that. So it's just like this catch-22 where you're like, all
Wow.
right, I don't know, I can't collect them because they're not a federally, it's not federally legal to have this product, or it's a hazardous waste product and we don't manage hazardous waste. So what is your opinion on vapes, and where do you think the solution is there?
Get rid of them. Stop
Yeah.
using them.
Right?
Here's my solution. Our guys at our shop, when vapes first were a thing, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, guys they wouldn't smoke cigarettes, right? Also, they thought they could vape in my shop. So I tell them not to vape at all. So I think vaping's dumb. Also, people vape inside. Again, we're getting now it's going to the
Now we're just
societal
making fun of
issue.
people. Yeah.
The simplest way of doing it is to have some sort of put the response. It comes down to manufacturer responsibility, right? So have a core charge. Make it as simple as when you buy a vape. What is the cost of a vape? $10, $15? I don't know.
Again, I've never bought one.
Hillbilly math. Let's
I
say,
honestly
let's
don't
say
know.
hillbilly math is
We're getting the
how much.
They're up to
we would-
$60.
inside
That is
information off
insane.
camera saying $60.
Okay, so yeah, our insider trading $6 a vape. Okay, here's the hillbilly math, right? For every vape, you charge an extra $2 core charge, right? So now it's an $8 vape. Bring the other one back. 60. Oh,
Yeah, that's what-
disposable. Oh, 60. Even simpler. Charge a $10, $15 core charge, enough where it's going to be a pain point for them not to want to throw away that vape, and then have it bring it in, and then any company that sells vape has a collection box, and it's the manufacturer's responsibility to take those back. It's no different than what we've done with legislation with electronics, where now there's an end-of-life cost that the consumer eats on the front end. Create something like that, and then you create this circular economy based off of cash. Because ultimately, people vote with their dollars, their habits and behaviors will change when it hits their pocketbook.
Now, I will say the UK is better set up for vape recycling because they do install these bins all over the place. But EPR is rolling out in our country this year, so this could be something that is groped into that.
Yeah. There's a lot of products. It's interesting you bring up vapes. There's so many products that every single day, everyday consumers put in their trash that have value. At Camel Crew, we always talk about, we never call it junk. We use junk in the name of our business for SEO search terms, make it simple for consumers to buy from us. Beyond that, we talk about unwanted items. Because the difference between, the inverse of an unwanted item is a wanted item. So who wants the material that's in a vape, right, that has some level of resource? Well, I can tell you who doesn't want it, the landfills.
Right.
Well, that's the thing about WasteExpo also, right? There's the fun, right? The fun in the games per se. That's what I also enjoy about it. It's the one time a year. We do things throughout the year. We email, we text, we read each other's articles, I listen to the podcast. It's our one chance to come together and really humanize this industry. When all we're talking about is waste and recycling, it gets old, it gets dry.
Sure.
The other thing I love about it is, let's look at who's in this room, right? We've got 3 people that are young and eager to change this industry. I feel the difference from a few years back. For years ago, it felt like it was the good old boys club, running the same play, running the same song and dance. And what you guys done here at Waste 360, you really brought this idea of youth and innovation. How do we make this conference different every single year so it's not the same speakers doing the same pitches every single year, complaining about the same legislation? So that's my plug to you guys. And again, the reason why I come every year, there's the social piece, there's the education piece, and it really feels like we're part of a movement shaping this industry.
Well, thank you for the the kind words. I swear I didn't bring you in just to gas us up. But here we are. But
Yeah.
that is fun because WasteExpo does evolve the way the waste industry does.
Yep.
We're as much as we're doing a good job evolving, we're kind of just keeping up too.
Yeah, and I tell everybody all the time, I've been in trade pubs and trade journalism for about 15 years now, and this show itself, just like you said, Andy, there's so much innovation. People crave that connection. People want to make a difference and find the solutions, not just talk about the education, not just talk about what's the problem is. They want to find those solutions.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple of years ago, software was a huge push. Like 3 or 4 years ago, it felt like every other booth was software. This year, AI. I don't remember seeing a single booth about AI last year. There's probably 10 to 12 booths this year that are AI focused. Whether it's AI in sales, AI in routing, AI in fleet maintenance, in camera systems. Really, our industry keeps up with technology because the people in the industry are always looking, how can we operate safer, more efficient, so we can deliver more reliable service? So for people that often think, oh, it's another trade show, I'm just going to get pitched at. No, you're seeing the latest, the cutting edge technology. Yesterday, I was taking pictures of business cards, sending it back to my guys in the rear. I look at it where my job here is to come here and look for opportunities I wouldn't otherwise search for, and everybody's here. Everybody that has the latest, greatest product is here on display, and then the seminars teach you things that you might have thought about or considered and never probably would have taken the time to research.
Yeah, and I mean, me and Steph, we host the panels every once in a while. That's one thing I make a point to the audience that I'm like, look, you learned something up here, but I implore you to take your time on the show floor because what you got here is going to be down there, and you can touch it, you can feel it, you can talk to somebody about it. There's a lot of questions to be answered. Don't miss it. Like, you should be here.
Yeah, it's easy today to Google an answer. We can say
Right.
that for everybody. That's what a lot of young people are doing. A lot of everybody's doing. They just like pick up their phones, they Google it. But here you're getting that hands-on experience. You're talking about it. You're talking through these issues, these problems, and finding those solutions.
What I find out here is even better. You find out what questions to be asking. For me as a business owner, I can find the answer to a question I have. When I come here, I'm finding information for questions I hadn't even thought about asking. I learned today, Battle, I know they make trucks, right? Battle and Mack both have EV trucks right here on the floor, and yet I've been Googling it for a while, wanting to figure it out, and I haven't. Amazon has a fleet of EV trucks. They have their new big 24-foot trucks. And I'm like, man, who else makes them? I researched this 2 weeks ago. Today, I walked out, and then Mack is sitting there, yeah, we got a 24-foot truck. It's all EV. These are the specs. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
and McNeilus has one too. They have a front loader they just
yeah,
launched.
McNeilus has a front loader. Battle has a mid-size truck, the striker vehicle they call it, so it's a little bit narrower, right? So it's more a 16 cubic yard rear loader, 14 cubic yard. Again, the answers you're looking for within the industry are here every single year.
Well, I like now that we're talking about the show floor a little bit. I know you just said you walked it for 8 hours.
8 of them.
What was anything cool stuck out to you? I know for me what my highlight of the show floor is, so I'd like to hear from you two too. before I share
Really,
mine.
actually, so yesterday was more walking and taking in new information. Today was more intentional because I want to solve a few problems within our company. The biggest thing for me is I've always seen the trucks. You walk by, kind of truck's cool. Now that I'm in the game where I'm buying those, mid trucks, those, light or the medium duty trucks, having conversations and really getting to know the vehicles. So I'm not a vehicle guy.
Sure.
I drove a truck in Iraq. I can keep the wheels on the asphalt, and that's
There you go.
about the care as much as I care. And so to really understand how the EVs are changing the industry, and also diesel and gas, and what things are considered. When I'm buying a truck off a lot, I'm not asking all these questions. Here, I have the manufacturers to talk to versus a sales guy who wants to sell you what he has on a lot,
Right.
not what the best fit is for you. So it's really that in-depth knowledge. When I went into a couple booths today, I said, this is what I'm looking for. They're like, let's grab the person. Not a person.
Yeah.
Let's grab the person. So you have the guy who's the sales engineer who develops the spec sheets talking to you about the truck. I'm not getting that on Google. I'm not getting that on the website. To be able to have that conversation, shake the man's hand, get his email, and know that I can call him or email him direct, that's money.
Right. I think that's important. I agree. Now I'm going to pivot over to us and what we saw at Waste on the floor. Steph, I'll start with you. What was interesting out there?
Honestly, the coolest thing I saw on the floor today, I know I mentioned McNeilus, you mentioned AI, was the autonomous trash bin.
This is exactly what I was going to talk about.
Super cool. I have never.
That white one?
Yes, the white
that
one.
little
Harry.
ridiculous-
Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
It looks like, for anybody that's seen the the food trash bins they have on college campuses.
Yeah,
Have you
like
seen those?
the
Like
big bellies almost.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like a 2 cubic foot thing. That thing's what, like 2 cubic? I mean, it just is. I don't know how big that thing is, but it's intimidating.
Oh yeah.
Are you're talking about the cart seeker, or or the small robot?
Oh, I was
Yeah, it was
talking about
the-
the cart seeker.
Okay, well, I think we're talking about the small
Yeah,
robot.
we're
what
talking
was
about the
that? Why didn't I
robot.
see this?
So it's to the right. You should go over there before the show closes. It's those Amazon robots that deliver packages just
Yeah.
unmanned. They have a proof of concept for trash.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did see. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what that thing was.
So they're
Yeah.
looking like residential, where it shows like you call it on your phone, it shows up at your house, you put a bag in, it takes it
Yeah,
off
they're
to a
looking
place.
at they're doing studies like in alley, like especially for like tight alleys where the vehicles can't get in there, just having it deployed, goes down the alley, person dumps it in there, and it drives back up right up to the truck or the dumpster. So
Oh, I did see that.
It
Okay.
is
Yeah, that's cool.
And they're trying to figure out where they can use it, where they can put it.
Yeah.
One of the guys was like, we don't really want to. Like Vegas would be interesting because I think drunk people would try and climb it and use it to get home or something. We don't know about that one, but we'll see. It's a proof of concept, so it's a really cool device. I'm fascinated by it. I wanted that to come to fruition a little
Well,
bit.
what's interesting is Vegas has all those Zooks or whatever those are.
Yeah.
The autonomous taxis. No passengers yet.
Right.
And yet, I really want. I even Googled yesterday how to get. And you have to be like friend or family to be a test driver.
We tried to do one in Phoenix.
Yeah.
They had them in Phoenix too, but where we needed to go, those didn't go. So we're
Yeah.
like, there's no point. in
yeah, it
taking
made
one.
it take a 5-minute walk to the starting location. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not here. Like the whole point is to
But
come
we're
pick us
close.
up. Yeah, we're
We're
almost
getting
there.
there.
We're almost there.
The positive part is there's a lot of industries that are worried about AI. They're worried about technology, and the waste industry more and more. Right, we have challenges when it comes to labor. We have challenges when it comes to safety. So anything where we can rely on technology to solve labor issues or safety issues, and we always have. I mean, whether it's ASLs or the technology we use within the landfills, right, using drones and whatnot to manage landfills, our industry really leans in on the technology available for a relatively archaic type of industry. We hauling trash is not very advanced. The way we do it continues to change, and I'm really excited that here at WasteExpo we lean into all the technology that's available
Yeah.
to us.
Well, one of the things that always impresses me every year, you were talking about safety, is the way they're trying to design out musculoskeletal injuries,
Yep.
especially with lifting the bins or shifting them or moving them places. And I really like to see that because I used to write about safety in OSHA. So to me, that's like personally one of my things that I love to see the industry doing.
Yeah, years ago I worked. I was a sales rep for Black & Decker and DeWalt Tools, and they talked about ergonomics of tools to reduce fatigue, elbows and wrists, and things like that. And I think about pushing 2-yarders, pulling cans all day. That's a whole body workout,
yeah.
right? So how do we, you guys riding in the back of trucks still that are slinging 600 houses a day? How do we reduce, lower back injuries utilizing technology? Because back in the day it was tough enough, and then I worked for WM for a number of years. And we had all these techniques. It's like, well, techniques only get you so far. How do we make the technology, the toters, the cans, more ergonomically correct for the human to utilize?
I don't have that answer, but someone at WasteExpo will.
Somebody at
Yes.
WasteExpo will.
But yeah, but the AI taking care of those dull, dangerous jobs,
Yep.
I think that's great.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there's still a place for the person. It's not like you're completely designing out the job for the person not to be there. And that's what a lot of concerns are when AI is brought up. It's like, oh, we're eliminating jobs. You're really not. You're just making them more efficient.
Absolutely. Well, even look at our MRFs. If we had nothing but human sorting material at the MRFs, there would be no money in it. They would close down. We need the automation in our MRFs, and so that the AI that they're incorporating into MRFs and the sensors to be able to move different types of material really allows us to continue to have MRFs and have more people that are technology driven in the operations, less manual labor.
Phew, it's a lot.
Yes.
But it also reminds me of I tell my family what I do, and they're like, oh, how much can there be to talk about with trash? I'm like, look, you don't, all you see is the truck show up. There's so much.
Let them know about the Trash Talk Business Podcast. Shameless plug for me, your weekly chance to talk trash with the experts.
I was going to throw it to Steph to give you your plugs, but
Yes.
if you're going to
I'm shameless enough to plug myself.
well, cool. Well, I think that's going to about bring us to the end of
Oh
the
no,
episode.
I think that's the end of Waste Expo too. So I guess we'll have to see you
We'll
at a
wrap it
future
up.
show, right, Andy?
Where's that?
Future show.
Oh, yeah, all the shows, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I feel like it doesn't matter. I was at a conference, not this show, someone else's conference, and I walked, would you see me on the stage, or I saw you were speaking, and I was like, Andy's here? I walked in, he's just good, he's on stage, talking and pointing at people, he's flinging books and stuff.
That was in Louisville.
Was it Louisville?
Yeah, Louisville, the municipal recycling.
There's so many events. I can't even remember the name of it.
It was a good event. It's always a good event when I see Gage. That's when I know I'm in the right place.
It was. I walked in. I told him I would be there. I walked in. I sat down. He was like, "Oh, hey, Gage." I just kept going. I was like, "What's up, Andy?" But at that point, everyone else turned around and looked at me. I was like, listen, I'm good. So anyway, Steph.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a wrap here for WasteExpo and for this podcast. For everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't get to attend, I hope you learned a little bit. And remember, it's our world. Let's not waste it.